Welcome to odds.com for our NCAA tournament breakdown. It is the finest Monday of the year, the day after Selection Sunday, and we have our NCAA basketball expert, Maxwell Smart, with us to break down each and every game in each and every region. And we start with the West region. Max, how you doing today, my man?
Jim, a lot of people get excited for multiple times of year, like Christmas and a family member or loved one's birthday. I don't get excited for any of those. Maybe that makes me a piece of shit. But you know what I get excited for, Jim? March Mother Beeping Madness. It's here. I'm ready. I'm alive. I got a hot shave that I didn't cut myself. I did the hair up. And I'm ready to break down every goddamn game because I'm going to get as much as I can of this. Because when April comes and that final game gets played, then it's just baseball and football and NBA and the Leafs. But college basketball is my savior. It's my religion. And I am so excited to start this. And I gotta stop talking now.
Well, let's get right to work. We're breaking down the West region, and we are going to start with the play-in games. We start Thursday, March 18th, 6:27 p.m. Eastern. The 11th-ranked Drake Bulldogs, 25-4 this year, versus the 11th-ranked Wichita State Shockers, 16-5. We're at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, Indiana. And we have Wichita coming in as a minus 2-point favorite. Few books have gone down to 1.5. This total opened up at 139.5 and is up to 141. Max, your year has been excellent. 254 wins, 217 losses, 53.9%, plus 18.12 units, ROI plus 3.85%. And now we begin tournament time. Drake finished the regular season second in the Mississippi Valley Conference. They met Loyola Chicago in the final and lost 75-65. It was their third meeting of the season versus Loyola, losing the first in ugly fashion, 81-54. They came back the following night, beat them in overtime in a 51-50 rock fight before losing March 7th in the conference final. Loyola Chicago shot 59.1% from the field, 58.8% from three. Were in control the whole time. Drake was 22-2 before losing starting point guard Roman Penn for the season to a leg injury. They went 3-2 without him. Penn gets 5.5 assists per game. The rest of the team averages just 8.3. They're led by 6'6" senior Shaquan Hemphill, who averages 14.1 points, 6.3 boards. They shoot the ball well, 49.4% from the field, 37% from three, 71.3% from the stripe. But that was with Roman Penn setting them up nice. Wichita State won the regular season American Crown. They had an 8-game winning streak heading into the semifinals of the conference tournament when they were upset by Cincinnati as 4-point favorites. Our Maxwell Smart was all over Cincinnati in that game. He was first half money line and full game spread. Altry Gilbert had 14 points to lead Wichita State. He had 10.3 on the season. Leading scorer Tyson Etienne, the conference co-player of the year, had 13 points. He averaged 17 on the year. Those are the only two Shockers averaging double digits. Wichita State struggles shooting the ball at times, hitting just 40.8% from the field, 34.2% from three, and 68.9% from the stripe. Max, the 11th seed play-in game, Drake, Wichita State. Take it away.
So, Jim, obviously yesterday on our selection show, I did give my first look without lining the game, without modeling a score. And now that I have, I have looked and lined Drake as a favorite if, and this is a big if they get Tank Hemphill back, who's been out for the last month. Without him, Wichita State goes to a 2-point favorite, which is where the line's at. Listen, this is a game where I got to first shout out a fellow Canadian that's going to be playing in this game. Probably is going to play some key minutes, but may get some garbage minutes depending on the score. And because I love to butcher people's names on this show, I like to call this guy, my guy, OK DJ. Not going to go any further than that, but he's a talented guard out of Oakville, Ontario. And hopefully we get to see him, hopefully in some garbage minutes where Drake is behind and losing. I think that with Drake, Jim, the key player is going to be Joseph Yesufu. We've seen that Yesufu's been able to be that game-breaking scorer that we've seen in so many other versions of this Drake team in other years. He's a 37% three-point shooter. He's a guy that can drive, slash, get to the rim. He's a fierce driver, I'd call him. I'd describe him actually as. And with his ball security and being responsible with it and being able to create for himself with either hand, this is a guy that can beat you from all over the floor. And I'm not even mentioning the fact that he has a very dangerous mid-range jump shot game. I think that the X factor for Drake is obviously going to be if Tank Hemphill plays. The other issue is if he does play, is there a little bit of rust after he's missed almost a month? Because when he's at his best, he's key on the glass, whether that be the offensive or defensive side of things. He's a high percentage scorer and he's a high percentage shot taker. That's evident by his 58% field goal percentage. But you can run your offense through him on the low block because he is very good at playing through double teams and passing out of them. I think that with Drake, their best formula to win this game is to really play a slow tempo game, take smart shots, establish your three-point shooting early to extend that Wichita State defense so they're not packing it in. And listen, you got to be able to convert without having to score at the free throw line because Wichita is definitely going to do a good job of not fouling you and putting you there. On the other side of that, Drake has to eliminate fouling and avoid putting Wichita on the line. So it's a double-edged sword right there. I think that with Wichita, and the reason why I like Wichita in this game, Jim, is they got a key player in Tyson Etienne. We've heard a lot about him. We've talked a lot about him. And before that hiccup against Cincinnati, we were seeing all about it. This is a guy that's a three-point heavy kind of guy. He's going to hit 40%, so you have to lock him down in that top of the circle spot. That's one of his hot zones. I think that when you look at him, this is one of the guys that you want at the free throw line at the end of a game. Although there have been some critical misses, he still hits over 75% there. And with Etienne, you have two ball handlers with him and Alterique Gilbert on the floor predominantly, probably 30 to 35 minutes a game. You do get responsible ball handling from Etienne. You do get a guy that demands to take his shots. And if he can take care of the ball, he should be taking those shots. I think that he has to avoid a lack of aggressiveness. And when he isn't commanding the ball and taking ownership of that offense, that's where Wichita State really struggles. I think that the X factor, though, for Wichita is going to be Morris Udeze. With his offensive performance lately, this is a guy that's using his power, his athleticism, and his strength to get to the rim, force opponents, front court players to either let him score or foul him. And he's got to convert his free throws when that happens. I think that with his defensive presence versus a heavy two-point attack in Drake, he's going to be front and center to come out and give you that kind of defensive performance. With Wichita, listen, Jim, they're great on defense, whether it be from defending the field or defending the three. And if they win on defense, they're going to advance. This is a game where we saw a total, I think it was like 139.5, 139. I lined it at 135. So I definitely like the under in the game at this point. And I just think that if Wichita State can get enough scoring where they do play a slow tempo outside the top 200, can make it difficult for them. But this is not a rookie tournament team in Wichita State. It's been about 12 or 13 years since Drake's been in it. And I think that as long as Wichita State gets off to a good start, like they didn't manage against USF and Cincinnati, get to the free throw line and get to the free throw line against a team who doesn't foul a lot, they're going to win this game. I think that on defense, they're going to be able to take the ball away from Drake more, and this is where you're going to see Roman Penn be missed the most. So I like Wichita State, and I like the under in the game, but right now for a show pick, I'm only going to take Wichita State.
Okay, because the number's all over the map. We do have the best line on the number at Bet365, surprisingly, under 141 at minus 105. But let's get you the Wichita State side. We have a minus 1.5 at minus 110 at FanDuel. Oh, you're on mute, Max.
That sounds good to me.
Let's lock that down. I moved on Wichita State as well. after all that you talked about on the bracket announcement show, and then doing the research myself, I moved on Wichita State. I got -2 though, and you got -1.5. Hopefully that doesn't come into play. -1.5 at -110 available at FanDuel, and Maxwell Smart is on the board, a 53.9% rate on 471 bets so far this year. ROI plus 3.85%, and he's locked in for his first official pick here on odds.com. The next play-in game, 8:40 p.m. Eastern, number 16 seed Appalachian State Mountaineers 17-11 versus number 16 seed Norfolk State Spartans 16-7. We're in Bloomington, Indiana for this one. We have Appalachian State opening up as 2.5-point favorites that moved to 3. This total opened up at 135.5 and has moved to 134.5. Appalachian State were the surprise winners of the Sun Belt Conference tournament, defeating Georgia State 80-73 as 7-point dogs. Senior Michael Almonacci went for 32.7 boards in the win. He averaged 12.9 points, 4.2 boards on the season. He plays with much more confidence than when we saw him 2 years ago with Stony Brook. He's one of 4 Mountaineers averaging double digits, along with Adrian Delph at 13.2, Justin Forrest 13, Donovan Gregory at 10.7. App State had a 5-game losing streak in mid-February before winning 5 of 6 to close out the season. They struggle shooting at times, 41.5% from the field, 32.4% from 3, and 73.7% from the stripe. Norfolk State defeated Morgan State 71-63 on Saturday in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference MEAC Tournament Championship game to earn its first NCAA tournament bid in 9 years. This is the first NCAA berth under 8-year coach Robert Jones. Norfolk State closed the season on a 7-game winning streak. Joe Bryant led the way with by scoring 17 points. He averages 15.5 on the season. Kashawn Hicks added 14. He averages 8.2. Leading scorer senior Devontae Carter went for 12.7 boards. He averages 15.5 points, 5.3 boards, 4 assists on the season. Norfolk State hits 43.6% from the field. Strong perimeter shooting, averaging 36.8% from 3 and hit 70.6% from the stripe. Max, the second play-in game in the West region, Thursday night, 8:40 p.m. Eastern, Appalachian State, Norfolk State. Take it away.
So, Jim, obviously with Appalachian State, this is a team that got hot at the perfect time of year, and they were cold going into the Sun Belt tournament. Obviously, we've seen a change of pace. We've seen an elevation in production and performance. And with Appalachian State, listen, they may not have any Canadians, but they're a good-looking group right now, and they were supposed to be a better performing group at the beginning of the season in the preseason projections. I think that with App State, the key player is definitely going to be Michael Almonacci. This is a 3-level scorer. This is a guy that wants the ball in his hand and makes good decisions when it's there. I believe he's from the D2 level, so the fact that he's able to command this offense, help this team get to the NCAA tournament when really everything was up against them, is really a good feel-good story and a real sign to other players at the D2 level that you can play. It's just a matter of getting the opportunity and landing at the right spot. I think that with Almonacci, he's good with the ball against pressure. He's not going to be the kind of guy that turns the ball over a lot. And with his court vision, he's going to find his 3-point shooters. And I think that's going to be the difference for App State. This is a team that definitely is going to play some slow tempo basketball. They're going to need to get that 3-headed monster of Justin Forrest, Almonacci, and Adrian Delph going. Listen, the problem for App State, even in these conference tournament games, have just been their first half performances, because Norfolk, they're a dangerous team in the first half. They're a team that have put up some big numbers, whether it be scoring from the 3-point line or scoring on the interior with a lot of freaking offensive rebounding, a lot of banging down low. I think that this is still an App State team that is very dependent on the 3-point shot. If they're able to hit 10 threes or more in this game and keep Norfolk State off the free throw line, I think that they're winning this game. They do a better job of boxing out on the defensive glass, and they just got to limit these second chance opportunities that Norfolk's been able to thrive on and score on against MEAC competition. And right there, that's an important factor, in my opinion. is conference rankings. And when you look at the MEAC conference, you look at the limited schedule that they played, App State played a lot of games, I think they had 1 or 2 stoppages, but they still managed to get a good bunch of games in. I think that this is going to be an App State type of game where they bring aggressive defense. Obviously, there's 2 sides to every coin, and if you're liking Norfolk State, you're liking Norfolk State on the first half. That's where they have the biggest advantage because we have seen teams be able to mount comebacks on them in the second half. This is a team with a key player in Devontae Carter who's going to definitely attract the defense, and he's going to be able to dish when that defense comes towards him. He plays a mid-range type game, so the farther you can push him out from the rim, the better you're going to be with his shot attempts. And he's a slasher. So if you can sacrifice the body and step in for a charge, you can saddle him with a couple early fouls, and that's definitely going to help with the Norfolk State team that is deep. They have talent like Jalen Hawkins from Robert Morris, J.J. Matthews, Joe Bryant Jr., so there's definitely some weapons. And I didn't even mention the X factor. The X factor for this team is going to be Kashawn Hicks. The 6'6" swing forward is able to hit some threes. He's able to get on the glass. He's able to play against bigger opponents. And he's just a quality piece that you can call upon. I think that with his mid-range game, he definitely does a good job at scoring all 3 levels, and he's going to convert free throws in the second halves if you need them. Norfolk's got to hit a couple threes, but it's got to get to the rim more often. And they got to clean up their free throw shooting in the second half in the last 5 minutes. They do have multiple 40% three-point shooters, and they definitely need to freaking bring their game defensively, but I have to look at their numbers with a grain of salt because who they're versus. I think that although they're ranked in the top 100 in field goal defense and three-point defense, they force turnovers, then they make shots more difficult for you. I think that App State just has the better coaching and Coach Dustin Kearns, better second-half performance, and that three-headed monster, the way that they performed in the Sun Belt tournament. If they can maintain their momentum from this layoff, I think App State's going to win this game. At 3, Jim, I'm not going to take it for an official show pick, but I will say that I lean to App State. I do lean to the under in the game, and if you want to force a bet out of me, the one bet I'd have to take is Norfolk State first half money line.
Wow. Very, very interesting breakdown. And no official pick then for the show.
If you want me to make an official show
pick. You don't have to. You don't have to force it. You don't have to force it.
Yeah, so then I just have leans on this game. App State full game under, Norfolk State first half money line.
There you go. No need to force Max to make an official pick on every single game. We want to know the ones he is going to move forward on, and that's fine. We've moved on Wichita State -1.5, -110, and we have leans in the App State, Norfolk State matchup at 8:40 p.m. Eastern. So we jump from Thursday to Saturday action. We stay in the West region. That is the region we are breaking down right now. 1:15 p.m. Eastern. Let's make sure I got everything up here for all of this market analysis. Here we go. Eastern Washington Eagles 16-7 versus number 3 Kansas Jayhawks 20-8. We're at Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have Eastern Washington opening up as an 11.5 point dog. That's moved to 10.5. This total opened up at 142. It's now all over the map. Well, within a 1.5, from 142.5 up to 144. Eastern Washington closed out the season very strong, winning 13 of 14, culminating in defeating Montana State 65-55 for the Big Sky Championship and earning their 3rd NCAA tournament berth in program history, first since 2015. The score flattered Montana State. The game wasn't close. Eastern Washington was up 20-3 early, coasted home. Jacob Groves had 15 points. Tanner Groves had 14 and 14. He averaged 16.4 points, 8.1 boards on the season. Kim Aiken Jr. also fills out the stat sheet. He averages 11.7 points, 8.5 boards. Tyler Robinson, Michael Meadows, Jacob Davidson also averaged double digits, giving the Eagles 5 players that hit that mark. They do everything well. They score 78 points per game, hit 46.7% from the field, 35.4 from 3, 78.7 from the line. Kansas had won 8 of 9. They were playing their best ball of the season when a positive COVID case stopped them in their tracks, stopped them from playing Texas in the Big 12 semis. How will this all affect them here? Second leading scorer, 6'10" junior David McCormick, is in quarantine. He wasn't there for the Big 12 tourney. They handled it without him. They went small ball. He averages 13.4, 6.1 boards. The other Jayhawk in quarantine is lightly used guard Tristan and Aruna. So they aren't decimated, but they could sure use the big body of McCormack against a team like Eastern Washington. That does bring size to the table. Led in scoring by junior Ochai Ogbaji, who averages 14.2 points per game. He scored 26 in the conference quarterfinal win over Oklahoma. Jalen Wilson, Marcus Garrett also averaged double digits. Kansas scored 73.1 points per game, hit 44% from the field, 34.4 from three, and 71.2% from the foul line. What a tricky COVID situation we have here, Max. Eastern Washington, Kansas Jayhawks, take it away.
Jim, for your average college basketball capper, it's probably a tricky situation. For your boy, Maxwell Smart, Canada's best Division I college basketball volume capper, I gave myself that title. I am obviously well-equipped to talk about these two teams, break down this game, and give you an educated pick to put your children's trust funds on. So, first off, Jim, let's talk about Eastern Washington because they deserve some recognition, some respect. This is a team that's done a fantastic job of maintaining expectations throughout this COVID season with a couple COVID pauses and are playing their best basketball and have emerging players. We've seen that Jacob Davison has really ran this team for a year or two from the backcourt. Very good, slick mid-range shooter, but someone better came in. His name is Mike Meadows. He likes Meadows. He likes running through Meadows. And you know what? There's a meadow, and it's called the Kansas Jayhawks. He wants to run through them. So with Meadows, this is a guy that's definitely proven that he's dangerous from the three-point line. He's a very capable pick-and-roll offensive player. And with his quick shot release, those yellow shoes, they stand out. He's a good-looking basketball player, So with his length, even at 6'2", 6'3", he's got a good wingspan. So you're not going to be able to dribble around him without taking the risk of coughing the ball up. And with his court vision, he definitely can throw that ball into tight spaces. And that's perfect for the type of front court that he's going to be working with Tanner and Jacob Groves. I think that the X factor, though, for Eastern Washington, if they're going to be able to have some March Madness-like performance, is going to be Tyler Robertson, the 6'6" or 6'7". Sometimes I think that he's a devil's spawn redhead, but then other days I just think that he's a real pale blonde. So I'll have to get back to you on that one. But he does bring good size. He does have a good game plan of what he wants to do against his defensive assignment. And with his ability to convert at the free throw line, his interior scoring, his interior passing, Robertson's a guy that should be starting and could be starting. He's a 3-level scorer. I think that Eastern Washington gets good contributions from those two guys, and then from their big three. This is a tough Eastern Washington team to beat. They're a very good defending team, but this obviously is a different competition level. And with this competition level, not having Dave McCormick is definitely going to be beneficial. And also, Jim, news that came out courtesy of some guys I'm not going to reference, Jalen Wilson is not going to be traveling with the team and playing in this game. So you're losing 12 points and 8.5 rebounds. Jalen Wilson was going to be my X factor for this Kansas team. So obviously finding that news out definitely takes away, because what is Jalen Wilson? Jalen Wilson's a big game performer. This is a guy that left Michigan to come to Kansas because he wanted a clearer path to the role that he played this year. He gets key rebounds on both sides of the glass, and with his pass deflecting ability, he's a guy that creates turnovers for other guys to capitalize on and score in transition. He's a size mismatch. He has speed to either side. So he's going to be heavily missed. I think that Eastern Washington, with the way that they shoot the basketball, they have to just hit shots. If they hit shots early and keep Kansas defense on their heels with some tempo, I think that their adjusted offensive focus could be enough to freaking stay in this game, maybe even pull off an upset. I like Eastern Washington first half and full game in this game. You're going to have to line shop for me while I talk about the key player for Kansas, in my opinion, which is going to be Marcus Garrett. Marcus Garrett's going to have to run this offense. He's going to have to guard the best offensive player on Eastern Washington, which will be determined in game. And listen, this is a guy that's hitting his second half free throws. He's not a 3-point lovey-dovey type guy, so you don't want to see him hanging out there. But with his strength, with his ball handling skills, he's going to be able to get to the rim. He's going to be able to get to the free throw line, and Kansas is going to need that. Kansas is a stout defensive team, one of the top defensive teams in the nation, and a lot of that goes by the wayside. If Kansas is be able to bring their type of first half defense, which is sort of allowing 27 points versus Eastern Washington scoring 38 points, well, then these plays are probably going to go down and burn in flames. But if Kansas is vulnerable on the offensive glass, if they're not doing a good job of closing out on 3-point shooters, if they don't get balanced scoring and use their depth properly, like Christian Braun and fucking Mitch Lightfoot, you need everybody coming with a depleted roster. I think that Kansas is vulnerable, and if I can get a good number, Jim, I'm going to jump on Eastern Washington for the show.
I can get you. There's 111 left, courtesy of BetMGM. Do you want that?
What's the juice, my friend?
Minus 110.
Sign me up for it.
There you go. Full game plus 11, minus 110. Then with first half action, I can give you two options. One, you can get a plus 6 at minus 116 or a plus 5.5 at minus 110.
Plus 6 at minus 116. At this point of the season, I can pay a little bit of extra juice just because we know that we're on limited amount of games.
That plus 6 at minus 116 is available at FanDuel. It is BetMGM that had the 5.5 at minus 110. There we go. Max locked in Eastern Washington Eagles with a very convincing breakdown, one I think I may roll with as well. Full game plus 11 at minus 110. First half plus 6 at minus 116. We roll on 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 12 seed UC Santa Barbara, 22-4 versus the number 5 seed Creighton Bluejays. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's see what we have here. Wow, big movement here. UC Santa Barbara opening up as 8-point dogs. That's moved to 6.5 or 6. The leading indicator books have moved it to 6. This total opened up at 140.5. It has dropped to 138. UC Santa Barbara got revenge on UC Irvine after losing twice to them on the road in late December by defeating them in the Big West Final 79-63. After those December losses to UC Irvine, Santa Barbara went on a run, 18 of 19 games, winning them to win the title. They are led in scoring by senior Ja'Cory McLaughlin, who averages 16.2 points, 5.2 assists, hits 40.4% from 3. Their second leading scorer, the very athletic 6'9" Amadou Sow out of Mali, who averages 13.7 points, 7.6 boards. The other Gaucho averaging double digits is Ajari Sani, who averages 11.2 points per game. They are strong offensively, scoring 76.5 points per game, getting 16.3 assists, and only turning the ball over 11 times. They hit 48.5% from the field, 35.1 from 3, and 75 from the stripe. After beating Connecticut in a tightly contested Big East semifinal, 59-56, Creighton was surprisingly dismantled by the Georgetown Hoyas, 73-48 as 8.5-point favorites in the final. Blue Jays scored a season low 48 points, shot 29% from the field. Only starter to score double digits was leading scorer Marcus Zagorowski, who went for 17 points on 7 of 8 shooting. He went 3 of 4 from 3, while the rest of the starters went 3 of 20 from 3. Blue Jays are a deep squad, 5 players averaging double digits. Their offensive numbers are very similar to Santa Barbara, albeit in a much tougher conference. But Blue Jays average 77 points per game, only turn the ball over 11.1 times per game. They hit 47.6% from the field, 36.7% from 3, but they do struggle from the foul line, only hitting 64.2%. Max, big market move towards UC Santa Barbara. Take it away, UC Santa Barbara, Creighton.
Listen, I can understand it after watching the Creighton Bluejays get a little bit of karma for beating and eliminating my Yukon Huskies, who absolutely 100% would have just throttled Georgetown into the dirt. They would have freaking jumped on the tracks in front of a subway train. They would have been so embarrassed by the loss that they would have taken at the hands of my Huskies for the third time. But it wasn't meant to be, Jim. It wasn't meant to be. So we have Creighton in this game, you say. Well, listen, I'll tell you. I don't really like where this line is moving. I think that if you're a favorite better, you're salivating at the mouth. You're like, yeah, keep on piling that money on Santa Barbara. Sweeten that line for me because I'm going to hit it. Well, I'll tell you, this Santa Barbara team, they're quality. You know, you mentioned the two dudes that I'm going to talk about in a sec, but there is a Canadian contingency on this team. Brandon Cyrus and freshman Max Chalov. Brandon's from Oakville. Max is from Toronto. So obviously the GTA, the hoops factory, I call it, is definitely producing. I think that with UC Santa Barbara, McLaughlin definitely is a key player. He's a minute eater. He's a key shot taker. He plays both ends. He guards without touch and cheap fouls, which is going to be key for a guy who definitely is going to be attacking the rim and is going to be susceptible to picking up a charge or two. He hits 84% from the free throw line, like you said, Jim, and I think that when you look at him and his game, he's got to open up by scoring inside to open up good looks from the three-point line. With the X factor with Amadou Sow, listen, the guy is an impressive player, and without him, you know, the cupboard isn't bare. There's also Miles Norris. But with So, he's a beast on the glass. He's one of the best defensive rebounders in the nation, hands down. And he knows his limits. He's a low block type scorer, and he does a good job of that. He attracts and scores through double teams. He can draw fouls with the best of the big men on the West Coast. And he's worth staying up to watch because he's made 118 field goals. So I think that when you look at him, he's got to get to the free throw line. He's done a good job of balancing that out. If he can get to the free throw line 7 or 8 times, you know, he's going to hit 80+% of those. And I think that's going to be a definite asset to Santa Barbara against a Creighton team that, listen, situationally, Creighton's a good looking spot. You know, you need Marcus Zagorowski as your key player to explode offensively. Listen, we've been waiting for him to recover from this injury that sidelined him last year. And with him hitting 41% from the three-point line, 70 makes, 77% from the free throw line, he's just got to do a good job of not committing fouls, taking good shots, having that top court vision, and having those crisp, what I would call freaking like undefendable passes. So he knows his teammates' spots. He's got to get it to them, and his guys got to hit their shots. When you look at Damian Jefferson and Denzel Mahoney, you know, obviously, Jim, 3 for 20 when you're getting it from those guys is not going to work from the three-point line. But I think that Mitch Ballack is going to be stepping up. He's your grizzled vet. You know, some people would wonder, is he actually allowed and old enough, too old to be in school? He must be buying alcohol for all the kids under 21. And if he is, Jim, I applaud him. So with Mitch, you know, this is a guy that has a ultra quick release. He definitely has good shot timing of when he's taking his shots. He's strong on the ball. He can be your other ball handler on the court, and he can handle pressure. With his 72 three-point makes and his 40% percentage, he's got to come through. This is the game that you got to do it. They got to hit free throws. They got to hit early threes. They need balance. And without the liability of falling behind early, I think that this team definitely crashes the glass a little more and makes jump shots and closes the three-point line defensively. I liked Santa Barbara at the opener. But right now, this is a spot that I'm only going to be looking at Creighton first half for a show pick. So find me the best line, Jim. Hopefully you can find me a 3. If not, I will take a 3.5.
Well, let's find out right now if we can get you that very, very interesting breakdown. Big move towards this very dangerous Cal Santa Barbara squad. First half, Spread, we have 3.5 minus 106 at FanDuel. Let's see if I can better that here.
I'll just give you a couple more tidbits, Jim.
Sure.
With Santa Barbara, listen, they got to guard without giving up cheap fouls. Like I said, they got to go inside at Bishop and Kalkbrenner to hopefully for them to pick up a couple early fouls and convert at the free throw line. They can't slow down unless they want to, and they're going to have to trap Marcus because if their defense can't recover off those traps, you're going to see a lot of close buckets get scored by Creighton with their ball movement. And of course, the first half is critical for them. An early start is definitely something that favors them. And if they can win at the free throw line with the way that Creighton's been shooting it there, they definitely have that second half comeback ability because we have to also acknowledge while Creighton has been definitely in a funk offensively, 54% at the free throw line over the last 5 games with only 6 makes. That's a big discrepancy compared to the 18 Santa Barbara makes. So I would lean to Santa Barbara full game. I just think that you're going to get a good start from Creighton, and it's just a situational spot that I'm going to make a show pick.
Makes sense. Right now, the best I can get you, sadly, is 3.5 minus 105.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And we will move on it. Let me see if I can get anything better here. No, okay. First half, Creighton Bluejays, first half, minus 3.5, minus 105. That is available at Bet365. FanDuel hanging the minus 106. BetMGM hanging the minus 110. We move on. We are obviously not going to break down the Drake Bulldogs, Wichita State versus USC. We need to see who comes in and plays USC. So that moves us to 6:25 p.m. Eastern. This is a move that I've made today after breaking down the game. Number 15 seed Grand Canyon Antelopes, the Lopes, 17-6 versus Iowa Hawkeyes. We're at Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have a spread here of opening up as Iowa 15.5 point favorites. That is down to 14.5. A couple books still hanging the 15. I had to settle for the 14.5. This total opened up at 144.5 and is now at 145. Grand Canyon earned its first bid to the NCAA tournament with a 74-56 win over New Mexico State in the Western Athletic Conference Tournament Championship on Saturday night. The Antelopes entered the game ranked second in the nation in field goal percentage defense at 37.7%. They held number 3 seed New Mexico State to 36.4% on 20 of 55 shooting. The Lopes were led by 5'11" Oakland, California native Javon Blackshirt Jr., who went for 19 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, 3 steals. He's averaging 11.9 points, 5.3 assists on the season. And they're led by the senior twin tower, 7-foot Dane Asbjorn Midtgaard, who averages 14 points, 9.9 boards, and 6'10" Italian Alessandro Lever, who averages 13.3 points, 5.4 boards, and hits 39.8% from 3. And Max will answer this, will they be able to give Luka Garza a tough time? Because that's what I am hoping for. The Lopes hit 49.2% from the field, 33.2% from 3, and 68.6% from the stripe. Iowa got knocked out of the Big Ten tourney in the semifinals by eventual champion Illinois 82-71. Luka Garza had 21 points, 12 boards in his battle with fellow big man Kofi Coburn. Garza averages 23.7 points, 8.8 boards, hits 40.7% from 3. Jordan Bohannon had 20.6 assists. He averages 10.9 and 4.5. Joe Weiskamp finished with 12.7 boards. He averages 14.7 and 6.6 boards. He hits 47.3% from 3. Iowa's offense strong. They average 83.8 points per game. They only turn the ball over 9.5 times per game. They hit 46.9% from the field, 38.6 from 3, and 71.3 from the stripe. Can't wait to hear this breakdown, Max. 6:25 Eastern on Saturday. Grand Canyon Antelopes versus Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah, listen, I think that Iowa is coached by a guy that has subpar hair for a guy over 50 in Coach McCaffrey. Maybe he can get some hair tips from Coach Saban. He can help him with that. But listen, this is an Iowa team that, although I dislike, although I like to make fun of, is a team that is definitely respectable, They play in a tough conference. They have probably one of the top players in the nation. And they got a bunch of dangerous shooters. The three-point shot really hasn't been there as much this year. but the pick and roll and the ball screens and the pushing off misses have definitely gotten a lot of action towards the rim. I think with Iowa, obviously you need Luka to be impactful on both ends of the floor. He's good in a double. He can rim protect. He can draw fouls on key front court players. And, of course, we've seen that 40% three-point shot, so he does have three-level scoring. His decision-making under pressure is definitely something that I question a little bit at times, and then his second-half free throw shooting percentage, which is definitely lower than 70%. Obviously, with so many different key weapons, you really can go to Jordan Bohannon as your X Factor or Wieskamp or Keegan Murray. I'm going to go to CJ Frederick. CJ Frederick is a guy that's sort of been forgotten about. He's definitely under the radar, but he's one of the top 10 three-point shooters in the nation. I think that even though his volume definitely went down from his freshman year, he's a quality on-ball defender. He can handle a multitude of different kinds of opponents in the half court. And if he gets hot from the three-point line, this is a guy that can hit 7 or 8 threes, have that outlier type performance. I think that with Iowa, you got to just hope for sloppy play and nerves from Grand Canyon. You got to run your offense and don't get rattled by Grand Canyon's quality of defense. And you got to improve that three-point defense, because if you're going to allow Grand Canyon, who isn't necessarily a really dangerous and potent three-point shooting team, to make 8 or 9 from there, I don't see how you cover this number. I think that the higher the scoring, the more advantageous it is for Iowa. And they got to prove some naysayers wrong, including myself. I've said that their defense is going to be the reason why they eventually get eliminated in this tournament. And I think that the first half is going to be key. When you look at how Grand Canyon comes out and starts, if Iowa can't get past 30, and they may not be in the lead at the half. So I think that ball distribution is definitely a big advantage for Iowa with their multitude of ball handlers, and they're going to have to keep the turnovers down versus Grand Canyon. With Grand Canyon, Jim, Sean Miller-Moore, the Oregon State transfer from Toronto, Ontario, made the good choice, even though he could have stayed at Oregon State and been in this tournament, to move to Grand Canyon to play for Coach Drew. Really excited for him to be in his senior season, to be in the NCAA tournament like he wanted. And with Grand Canyon, you got to avoid the big letdown. You've made it to the tournament. You've dethroned New Mexico State. You throttled them, I think, 3 times out of the 3 times you played them. And against this Iowa team, you're going to have to slow the pace down. You're going to have to limit possessions. You're going to have to get back on defense and do a good job of limiting them to one and dones. You have to use your height to score in those high percentage spots. And with your key player being your point guard in Javon Blackshear, he's got to be that floor general. He's got to convert your second half free throws. He does convert at 80%, so that's definitely helping. And he's a slick passer, He's got to avoid some ball security issues, but I think that if you get 17 points or more from him, you're going to be in a good position. Obviously, you mentioned Lever, you mentioned Midgard. I think that Midgard's the more important big man, I think that he's the guy that's going to be closer to the bucket, the guy that Jack Nunge would have been coming onto the floor and playing against. And with Midgard's ability on the glass, whether it be offensive, defensive, he's top 100 in the nation. And with his rim protection, it's critical that he blocks some shots and deters some drivers, because there's going to be a lot of drivers coming at him. If he can call for the ball when he establishes that really good low block position, he can go over the right or left shoulder. So it's a real hard shot to defend one-on-one. You sort of have to bring a help defender if he's scoring on you, and that's where a guy like Mikey Dixon or Oscar Freire can step up and really make an impact. I think that when you look at this Grand Canyon team, if they can lock down the three-point line and really disrupt Iowa's ball movement, I'm not gonna say now that I've looked at numbers, I've lined the game, I've modeled the freaking scores. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna win this game, but I just think that it's a lot of points against a really capable defensive team. Now, will that translate versus a Big Ten school? I'm willing to take the chance that it will. I think that the better play for me, though, is to take full game, just because we've seen how dominant Iowa can be in first halves. And with a coach like Coach Drew, you do make the assumption that if this team does have an awkward first half offensively, that they can make the comeback and the adjustment in the second.
I can get you plus 15 and minus 110. The other few books have gone to 14.5, but not Circa and BetMGM. Would you like plus 15, minus 110?
Yes, sir. I'm good with that.
Locked in. Grand Canyon Antelopes, plus 15, minus 110, available at Circa Sports. We move on. 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Number 13 seed Ohio Bobcats, 16-7 on the year. Versus number 4 seed Virginia Cavaliers, 18-6. We're in Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana. And have we got lines for this? We do. Virginia opening up as 10-point favorites, and that's long gone. It's down to 7 at some books, 7.5 at the rest. This total opened up at 132. It's either at 132 or 132.5. Ohio won the MAC championship with a very convincing 84-69 win over Buffalo. They were up 41-21 at the half, coasted home. Jason Preston was excellent. 22 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 5 steals. He fills the stat sheet nightly, averaging 16.6 points, 6.8 boards, 7.2 assists. Ben Roderick added 20 points in the win. The Bobcats have 5 players averaging double digits. They score 80.9 points per game, get excellent distribution, getting 17.9 assists per game. They hit 48.9% from the field, 36.1 from the three, and 70.1 from the foul line. Virginia had to leave the ACC tournament after defeating Syracuse 72-69 on a Reese Beekman buzzer beater due to a positive COVID case from one of their players. A majority of the Virginia men's basketball team is currently in quarantine due to contact with the teammate. That player who supposedly reportedly saw game time versus Syracuse, will not be able to play in the NCAA tournament's first or second round. It's a very tricky cap. Virginia can play in the NCAA tournament as long as it has 5 eligible players. So unless a majority of the team tests positive over the coming week, no NCAA rule will force it to withdraw. If they do withdraw, and if the decision is made by Tuesday at 6 p.m., so within 27 hours, Louisville would replace Virginia as the number 4 seed in the West region. Virginia led by their stingy defense. They score 68.6 points per game while only turning the ball over 9.4 times per game. Sam Hauser leads the team with 16 points per game, followed by Jay Huff and Trey Murphy, who also averaged double digits. All three hit over 40% from three. They shoot the ball very well. 48% from the field, 38.1 from three, 81.7 from the stripe. Max, tricky spot here due to COVID issues. Ohio Bobcats, Virginia Cavaliers. Let's go.
Yeah, listen, I think that you missed the best line on Ohio if you're betting them, and obviously not knowing who's going to be playing, how many walk-ons are going to be playing for Virginia, if any, is definitely something you have to be aware of. I think that with Virginia, you got 2 key players. One's a key, one's an X factor. The key player is Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser, this is a guy that brings energy. He stays on the floor. He's a high percentage 2-point scorer. He's definitely capable of hitting the long distance shot. We've seen that so far this year. And listen, he's crafty, he's definitely stingy on the glass. He's good at boxing out. He's not going to be rattled by pressure, by the situation, by anything. He's going to bring his best game. And I think that the X factor for this team is going to have to be Reese Beekman. Listen, I know that the kid hit the game-winning shot, and that's why a lot of eyes are on him. That's why his name is a lot of people's mouths. But he's not in my mouth because of that. All right, he's in because this is a guy that brings the defense. This is a guy that brings the ball handling. This is a guy that plays more mature and more experienced than his freshman status. And with Beekman, listen, he's not going for 20 points. He's going to be able to bring all those elements on the defensive end, those intangibles that you need to win games and win championships. And with him, he's got to guard without fouling. He's got to take on the toughest defensive backcourt assignment, and he's got to put them down. He's got to take the ball away when he's help defending, and he's got to do a good job of recovering off that help defense because it's not always going to result in a turnover. He's solid at the free throw line, so if a team decides to foul him thinking that he's a weak link, well, they're mistaken. And he's going to be needed on Jason Preston. So with Virginia, they got to clamp down on defense because let's be frank, 5 or 6 of the last 7 games have gone over at similar numbers to we're seeing lined on this total. And with Virginia, they're a 92% free throw shooting team, but they only make 10 a game. So I don't understand why there isn't a lot more pick and roll, a lot of ball screen action towards the rim. So obviously with Virginia, this is a team that definitely has to do a better job on the glass. They have to frustrate their opponent in the half court, and they have to avoid making mistakes and giving away the momentum in game. But Ohio, listen, Jim, this is a first half dog freaking spot for me. I can't take them full game, but I can definitely take them first half, because what have we seen from Ohio and Jason Breston? Well, the dude obviously is a fantastic guy on the stat sheet, but he brings size. He brings fantastic ball skills. He's a matchup nightmare for a lot of backcourts, and Kie Clark and Reese Beekman may be the next victims. This is a team that played Illinois, only lost by 2. I believe they were in the lead in that game, and then Illinois had to make a furious comeback. You have to don't quote me on that, but I will say this. With Jason Preston, he's your X factor. He's your key player. He's your 3-level scorer. He's the king of drive and kick in the MAC conference. And the way that he spaces the offense when he's running it, guarding without fouling on the other end, not putting his opponent on the free throw line. Listen, the only gap in his game is his free throw shooting. And the X factor for this team is his understart, is his understudy, Mark Sears. Listen, Mark did a fantastic job running this offense and keeping this freaking boat afloat when Preston was out. I think that with Mark Sears, the freshman point guard is quality on both sides of the basketball. He's a pick your pocket. He's a pick your pocket type guy. He's a feisty driver. He draws fouls. He's 85% of the free throw line, and he knows how to get the ball into spots for his teammates to score the basketball. But, Jim, the biggest question in this game is, can Ohio defend? That's not their strength. We know that. They got to keep Virginia off the free throw line. They got to limit easy second chance opportunity scoring for guys like Jay Huff. You got to be freaking brave and not be deterred by the 7-footer in the middle as well. You got to go to the rim. You got to play within yourself. This is not a team that you want shooting 33s. You want them attacking. And if they can't hit their shot early, they are an absolute candidate to get blown out. We saw it in the Buffalo game. That was their hiccup in their season. They obviously have figured that out and avenged that. I think that Ohio is going to be able to exploit the big gap in this pack line defense, which is at the 3-point line. Ohio's been first half dominant, Jim. I'm going to hit them first half again. If they can get to 38, they're going into the half with the lead and at least covering the spread.
Do you want plus 3.5 at -110 or plus 4 at -115?
I'll take the plus 4.
Ohio Bobcats first half plus 4 -115. That's available at Bet365. FanDuel has it at -116. So a cent of value there at 365. Max is locked in. Ohio Bobcats first half plus 4 -115. We move on to 7:25 Eastern, a tricky game with two teams that have lost more games than they have won of late. Number 9 seed Missouri Tigers 16-9 versus number 8 seed Oklahoma Sooners 15-10. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have Missouri. Where are you? What's wrong with me? There we go. We have Missouri opening up as 2-point dogs. This total opened up at 141 and is down to 140.5 at a few books. Other books are keeping the 141. Missouri lost to Arkansas in the SEC quarterfinal 70-64. It was their 6th loss in 9 games. They're led by guards Drew Smith and Xavier Pinson, who each averaged 14.1 points per game. Pinson dealing with a tailbone injury, but is listed as probable to play. The other Tiger averaging double digits, 6'10" senior Jeremiah Tillman, who averages 12.3 points, 7 boards. The Tigers score 73.6 points per game, hit 44.9% from the field, 32% from 3, 69.8 from the foul line. Oklahoma lost to Kansas City in the Big 12 quarterfinals. They were down 35-15 at the half before staging a second half comeback to make the score respectable. They've lost 5 of 6. They're led by senior guard Austin Reeves, who averages 17.7 points, 5.7 boards, 4.7 assists. Devion Harmon And Brady Manick also averaged double digits for the Sooners. They score 74.8 points per game, 44.2 from the field, 33.8 from three, and 74.4% from the stripe. Tricky spot here, Max. Missouri Tigers, Oklahoma Sooners. Take it away.
Jim, I think that it definitely is a tricky spot. I think that this is a spot where it's hard to make a move, but you're going to have to pick one side. You're going to have to go with it. I think that with Missouri, it's going to come down to what you get out of Drew Smith. He's your key player. He's your key shot taker and maker. He's your best facilitator. And he's your best guy to really force a change of pace and tempo within the game. He's definitely capable of picking your pocket and getting out in transition and scoring a bucket when you think that you're safe and ready to go. Converts 80% of the free throw line, so really he's your most trustable guy in late game situations as well. And I've seen him hit a lot of key three-point shots, even in losing efforts. When his team needs a bucket, he takes it upon himself to go and get it. I think that the major X factor for this team, the guy that's going to be determining whether we eat cupcakes like this or cupcakes that come in plastic, well, it's going to be Jeremiah Tillman, man. Jeremiah Tillman, so much more was expected of him. With his ability to rebound the basketball, his rim protection, his help defense swatting, his pass deflecting, his ability to convert at the free throw line is just pitiful, you got to improve these areas. You're going to be targeted, and if you want to be on the floor at the end of games, then prove to Quanzo Martin that you should. This is a guy that definitely, when he's on point in first halves, getting into the flow early, he's going to convert a ton of high percentage shots. He definitely makes a lot of them already. And you know what? You're never going to have to worry about him taking a three. If he brings the defensive aspects of his game and the defensive strength that he has, Missouri's going to be in a much better spot because they have to do a good job against Oklahoma of not rushing the offense. Try to not make it a three-point shooting game because that's not their strength. They have lots of good guys that they can roll off ball screens, that they can throw in the pick and roll. They do a good job of sharing the basketball. But listen, outside of Drew Smith, you need to convert your free throws. And even though you're getting to the line on a volume basis, you're still leaving points there and still costing you money and still costing you wins. So I think that, listen, if you can take the shooting strength from their opponent away, which that is something that they've been consistently able to do, you're going to have a easier time against Oklahoma. But I just don't know about this. I just don't know about this Missouri team. They're not playing great basketball. Neither is Oklahoma, but I think that the Big 12 competition and the path that they've taken to get here is a little more difficult. I think with Oklahoma, the key player is going to be two guys that weren't Oklahoma Sooners last year. Umaja Gibson, the North Texas transfer. Listen, he's an extra ball handler. He's a spark plug off the bench. He's definitely a clean catch and release shooter, and he's responsible on the defensive end. He's going to hit 41%, and he's leading your team in makes with 56 this year. He's got to give you something. You got your big three in Reeves, Harmon, and Manick. You know what you expect from them, but you need this guy to come off the bench and give you scoring. And your X factor, what I've seen from this Sooner team and this Lon Kruger coach team is that they're playing a lot of small ball. They're playing a lot of Brady Manick at the 5 and then Elijah Harkless, the 6'3" transfer, at the 4. Harkless is definitely not your best candidate on paper, but when you watch him play the position, you watch how he maneuvers inside the lane to get in good position, to get on the glass, you know what? He really negates some of his size disadvantages. I think that with him, he's got to get on the defensive glass. He's got to be able to take the ball away from his bigger assignments, because when guys try to back him down, he's got to use that wingspan to dip around and try and take the ball away from them like that. And on the offensive end, he's going to give you a little bit of everything. You want just a bit of everything. And with him performing and giving you more on the defensive end, I got to be looking at Oklahoma in this spot. I'm not going to take them as an official show pick, Jim, but I do lean towards them. I think that with Oklahoma, this is a team that has to compact the defense. They have to play that small ball lineup effectively, and they got to defend stoutly. If they get their best defensive efficiency effort, are able to slow the tempo down defensively and make it hard to score inside while disrupting Missouri's flow, I think this game stays under. I would have lined this game closer to 135, so I'm going to take the full game under as an official show pick for this game.
Let's quickly line shop for you and get you the best line that we can. We have 141. Can we do better than that? 141 and 140.5. And it looks like it is 141 at minus 110. Is that fine?
Yeah, that works for me, bud. I got 6 points of value or 5 points of value on that line, so
wow,
no question there.
It's I found a 141.5, but it's minus 118.
No, thank you.
Okay, 141 under 141.5. Wow, that's a lot of value. Under 141 at minus 110, and that was available at circa. At 365. Let's just give you circa for that. Okay, Max, we have one final game. Oh, again, the number 16 playing Appalachian St. Norfolk up against Gonzaga. We'll cap at a later time. We need to find out who's playing Gonzaga. The final game in the West region, Saturday night, 9:57 p.m. Eastern, VCU Rams, number 10 seed, 19-7 on the year, versus the Oregon Ducks, 20-6, Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, Indiana. And let's see what we are dealing with. The Ducks open up as 5.5-point favorites. No movement. Total opened up at 138. It's dropped 1 point to 137. VCU comes in after losing the A-10 championship game to St. Bonaventure, 74-65. Leading scorer in the Sean Highland went for 21 points, 6 rebounds in the loss. The only other starter to score double digits was Vince Williams, the team's second leading scorer, who went for 12 points and 9 boards. He averages 10.6 on the season. No other Ram scores more than 7.2 points per game. They score 71.7 points per game, play sloppy at times, turning the ball over 14.6 times a game. They had 45.1% from the field, 32.9% from three, and 76.1% from the foul line. Oregon had their 6-game winning streak snapped, and they surprise 75-64 loss to Oregon State in the Pac-12 semis. They lost as 8-point favorites. They were just 6 of 23 from 3. Oregon State dominated them on the glass. The Beavers out-rebounded Oregon 38-24, got 12 offensive boards. The Ducks have 5 players averaging double digits, led by seniors Eugene Omarui and Chris Duarte, who each score 16.7 points per game. The Ducks score 74.4 points, hit 47.2 from the field, 37.9 from 3, and 70.4% from the foul line. Max, the last game for the West region, VCU Rams, Oregon Ducks. Take it away.
Jim, I'm going to definitely get excited about this game for a variety of different reasons. Not one being because there's a Pac-12 school involved. I'm still not a fan of the Pac-12. I still think that it's a subpar Power 6 conference. And to be quite frank with you, I'd rather watch elementary school basketball than watch the Pac-12. But in this particular matchup in the Pac-12, I have a soft spot because this Oregon team is a very good March Madness money-making team year in, year out, and that doesn't matter about the personnel. That comes down to Dana Altman being the coach. With Oregon, they reloaded. A lot of people thought that this would take a long time to adjust and a lot of things shaking out differently than people expected. Well, I'll tell you this. This Oregon team is healthy. They have all the pieces that they need, and this is the time that they got to bring their best. Yes, they lost to Oregon State. They lost to Oregon State also in conference season. So it doesn't surprise me that they had trouble with their in-state rival. That's a huge game for the Beavers. So I put that by the wayside. I think that with Oregon, they got to keep VCU off the free throw line. They got to press them, and they got to take the ball away from them. They got to have good ball security versus VCU's press, and they got to show that you can score versus East Coast offense. So I think that beating up on Pac-12 teams is all good and gravy, but let's see you do it against some East Coast basketball. I think that with Oregon, they got to hit their second half free throws because they are very reliant on 3-point scoring. So in every other area that they can get and manage some points out of, they need to capitalize on that. And they need help from the bench now that it's healthy. Jalen Terry, Amari Hardy, Chandler Lawson, these are the guys that you need to contribute. When you look at the best players and the X factor for this team, well, listen, Dana Altman's a smart man. He may be coaching in a rotten conference, but when he recruits from the right part of the continent, and that's north of the border. Okay? Chris Duarte, what a player. 6'6". He's going to give you steals. He's going to give you pass deflection. He's going to block shots. He's going to handle the ball. He's going to be a quality on-ball defender. And listen, with his ability to guard without fouling, it just catapults him. He's going to be able to frustrate you on the other end because with his length, his strength, and his driving ability, he's going to get to the free throw line. He's going to then open you up because you're going to be so worried about freaking backing up and cutting off that lane to the rim. He's going to hit a 3-point shot against you. And just so you're aware, the dude does hit 43% from the line. I think that when you look at this guy, he's going to be aided by another Canadian, Jim. You mentioned him, Rexdale, Ontario, Eugene Amori. And Rutgers, you wish you had this guy right now, but you don't, okay? And what Amori's going to do, he's going to be physical. He's going to use his length to take the ball away from you. He's going to get on transition and score the bucket while drawing fouls. He's strong on the ball. He's dangerous when attacking, and you can contest all the 3-point shots you want against him. He's going to knock down 4 or 5 of them against you. He's a beast on the offensive glass on an undersized team. And with the ball in his hands late, I trust this team. So I haven't watched a ton of Oregon, but I've watched a ton of these two guys. My number would have been 7.5 with Oregon. I think that if you're going to get the best performance out of Oregon, you're probably going to want to jump on them first half against an unfamiliar opponent. And on the other side of the coin, because we got to look at it from both sides, VCU is slumping. They got smacked around by the Bonnies. It was like they were their bottom B in prison, and they had no say of what gone on to them. All right? Listen, VCU's got to win with defense. We know the numbers. They're both top 40 when it comes to field goal and 3-point defense. Their takeaways are top 10% in the nation, and they force you to take difficult shots. But they are beatable. And if you can get up on them early, you can put them down for the go. I think that when you look at this VCU team, Bones Highland is going to be the critical piece that you got to stop. He's a gifted slasher, gifted shooter. He's a pickpocket. He's a good help. He's a good help defender. He's good in the trap without fouling. He forces opponents to put him on the free throw line so that they can avoid getting killed at the 3-point line by him. The X factor, if VCU is going to win this game, is not going to be Ace Baldwin. It's not going to be Vince Williams. It's going to be Hassan Ward. Hassan Ward is going to have a height advantage against a lot of Oregon's key rotational pieces, aside from Chandler Lawson. This is a guy that brings good offensive defensive rebounding when he stays out of foul trouble. He's a 61% field goal shooter, so he plays and stays within himself. And with him being in the top 10 in swats in the nation, he's a great help defender at his length. With all these nice things I just said about VCU, Jim, I still like Oregon first half. I still like the Canadian contingency. I still like Dana Altman, even though he has a very thinning head of hair on the top. I can help him with that. He just gave me a call. And you know what? I think that this is the one Pac-12 school that has some value and has some potential. So let's go Oregon first half for the official show pick. But I definitely lean towards Oregon full game as well.
Okay, so we have a -3 at -106, a -3 at -105. See if I can beat that here quickly. We have a -2.5 at -110 from BetMGM. I imagine that's going to be the best. Let's just check Fox Bet quickly here. And they're not putting out first half spreads, so I don't need to do that. There we go. Oregon Ducks, first half, -2.5 at -110. Available at BetMGM. That concludes the West region. Absolutely spectacular work, Max. Let's review the action. Make sure I didn't make any mistakes. You start your card out with the Wichita State Shockers, -1.5 at -110. Then we stay off App State, Norfolk. Then on Saturday, we have Eastern Washington Eagles, double up, full game +11, first half +6. Then we have Creighton, first half -3.5. Then Grand Canyon +15 at -110. Ohio State, or excuse me, Ohio State, Ohio Bobcats, first half +4. The under 141 at -110 in Missouri, Oklahoma. Oregon Ducks, first half -2.5 at BetMGM. Does that all sound right?
Jim, the Oregon first half play is the cupcake play of the day.
Ooh.
That is a beautiful rolling pin cupcake that will be devoured as soon as we go off. And as soon as I devour it, the win will be sealed. All right? The betting gods, the chicken tender gods, the cupcake gods are all in agreement, and they want Oregon to win the first half by 3 or more. Let's go.
Cupcake play of the day. I love it. Max, great work. Next up, we have the South region. We will be shooting that in a few hours. We love working with you, man. Thank you for sharing all your hard work and insights. Do you have any last words for these great cappers?
Listen, I hope that the breakdowns weren't too long. I want to give you guys that extra bit of information and what you guys need to know. So hopefully we're going to start off with some winners. We're going to talk about every game, and if I don't make an official show pick, I think that the leans are definitely actionable. And listen, guys, this is the last couple weeks of March Madness. This is the last couple weeks of the COVID NCAA college basketball season. We are blessed. We are lucky to have it. And let's just stay humble about it. You know, we got some dangerous, schemy bookmakers to beat, and I got a feeling that we're going to beat them, and we're going to be enjoying a lot of cupcakes. So let's get it done. Let's make it happen. And let's enjoy college basketball, because this is the best sport around.
Well put, Max. On behalf of Maxwell Smart, myself, everybody at odds.com, let's get paid in full.